Hello everyone, welcome to System Crafters Live. I'm David Wilson, and I'm very late. Sorry about that. I'll tell you the story. Just give me a minute, get everything set up here, and to check to see who's here, who stuck around, because geez, how long is it now? 42 minutes late? Yeah, no, you're giving me stuff in the chat here for 10-15 minutes. Look, I'll explain it. Let me just say hello first. You can tell I'm tired now. Hello to... God, I gotta scroll all the way up from all the razzing I've been getting here in the IRC. To Arnaud, Summer, Fade, Yabo, Lumi, let's see, Gun, Jeff, Glenn, Big Edie. I saw Karthik join. I don't know if Karthik has said anything yet. Einar. Let's see, who am I missing here? Scrolling. AFM Victoria. Let's see, who else? No Namer. Not sure who No Namer is. Benoit. Alternate Ved. Let's see, who else? That might be it. I'm trying to scroll as fast as I can. There was a lot of razzing here. People just giving me grief for being late. Okay, yeah, I get it. You know, I'm here sweating, trying to get the stream online, and people just want to give me grief the whole time. That's okay. No big deal. Minos Mazar. Summer says, glad to see you weren't swallowed by a fish. Yes, that's not what happened, for sure. Okay, and on the YouTube side, hello to Lumi, who we see already in the IRC side. Thing2, Arnaud, who's also there, Enrico, Data Monoid, Peter's over on Twitch. Let's see, audio is low. I'll see if I can adjust that. Eric, Menacing Mecha, Kolkoskan, Anton, and Max. Okay, there we go. We're up to date. Is the audio too low? Is the microphone too low? All right, let me well, I can't really bump the volume on that very much. If I start tweaking things, I have a feeling things are gonna crash. So, okay. What happened? What happened? All right, this week I embarked on a what is the most dramatic way I can present this? An odyssey of sorts. You know, I live in Greece, so I have to turn things into something of epic proportions. So I'm going to say this was an odyssey to try and install Debian stable as a desktop Linux distribution. It has nothing to do with today's stream. Today's stream is something different entirely. But the goal here, Summer says I had a quest. Okay, it could be a quest also. Yeah, quest for fire, quest for sanity. But the idea was that it would be really interesting if I could actually use Debian stable as a desktop OS, mainly because you have access to pretty much all the software that's ever been made for Linux because they all target Debian/Ubuntu. And I really don't want to use Ubuntu. Ubuntu is just a layer of crap on top of Debian. So if I were to use something Debian-based, I would just use Debian itself. I would start with Debian stable, try to see if I can get by with the older versions of software that are in there. And if I couldn't, then I would try to use Debian testing instead. Another reason for this is that I would be using basically the same distribution that I might use for deploying applications to cloud servers, etc., because Debian is probably the most common and most stable choice for a deployment target for Linux, in my opinion. I mean, you could say that there's other distros that might be equally good for that, but I kind of feel like Debian is kind of like, you know, it's a classic, right? Big Edie says, Debian's not for noobs. Should have gone for Ubuntu. Yes, I'm a noob, that's for sure. So that was my goal. I wanted to use Debian stable. I thought it was going to be easy. I thought it would just be a cakewalk. I just install Debian stable and everything would be good. But no, I think that the gods of Debian had a different plan in mind for me. So I went through, I think I started, what did I start this? Was it like Tuesday, Wednesday? Fade says, here comes David Will with the most twisted disk layout not imagined by developers. No, not even like that. So I'm installing Debian stable on a laptop that has Windows installed in another partition, okay? We've been doing this for how many years now? We've been dual booting Windows with Linux how many years now? I've been doing it since probably 1999, okay? So it's not like this is some rocket science thing here. This is just normal stuff. But let me roll back. Go through the Debian installation the first time. I'm trying to set up an encrypted volume because I want to have an encrypted, you know, main root partition, and use LVM because I want to set up a swap partition as well. Misguided, I know, but I try to do that. Well, the UI didn't make it very easy to figure out the right way to do that. I read the docs a little bit, but I felt like, okay, maybe the graphical installer should be able to help me do this. Well, no, it was actually kind of weird. That's okay. I figured it out. Ultimately, I figured it out. But once I finally did start installing the system, after I got my partition set up, I got my encrypted partition set up, and I had my LVM logical volume set up inside that partition so I could have a couple of sort of virtual partitions there. I get to the point where I'm installing the bootloader, grub, so I can boot the system, and there's an error. Somehow, it thinks that it can't install grub. I'm thinking, okay, fine. Like, I did some really weird stuff. Like, I screwed up the partition, and I went into the terminal and fixed it somehow. Maybe that's what did it. So I started the installation over again the next day when I had more time. Same thing. I went through the whole thing from scratch. I got to the point where I was trying to install grub, and it still gave me the same error. So then I started trying to like go into a virtual terminal and try to install grub myself. And I tried that, and it left me with an unbootable system. So at that point, you would think, oh, okay, you just keep trying until it works. Well, no, that's not the point. What I wanted was a distro that has less hassle for me than GNU Guix. And I wouldn't say that GNU Guix has a lot of hassle from like a day-to-day maintenance standpoint. In fact, I would find GNU Guix to be pretty damn easy day-to-day, just updating packages or just dealing with your configuration and whatnot. Not a problem. The only thing that's really a pain with Guix is packaging new software, trying to work with certain development platforms, you know, like maybe JavaScript or even Rust can be a pain in the ass sometimes. Go can be a pain in the ass. All the stuff is... I missed an important point there. Let me roll back. I think the main issue was the combination of encrypted volume plus Windows partition, and for some reason it just flipped out, and it didn't understand how to set up grub correctly, which seems like that should be a solved problem. For something that calls itself stable, Debian stable 12, think that something like that would be an expected scenario, that it would be tested. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just the way my machine's set up. I don't know. Like, whatever. I just decided that I wasn't going to try to dig into that further because, like I'm saying, I wanted something that was less hassle. I thought that going into Debian stable would give me something with less hassle where I could just install it, use some older versions of software, have a stable situation, and try to learn to function in that environment. But AFM Victoria says there was a Windows 11 issue with grub. That could be it. Who knows? I haven't had that with Guix, though. So I don't know what detail that gives you. But then again, I'm not setting up the Windows 11 partition with grub because I don't need to. I just use the BIOS boot selector. So I wanted something that was less hassle, and I didn't get that. So that's the reason why I decided to just step back and be like, okay, well, if I can't use Debian stable because it doesn't fit the criteria that I'm trying to use for choosing an alternate distro at the moment, what are my other options? Well, I was being heavily pressured in the IRC for probably 3 days to use Fedora. Thank you to, well, mainly Summer Emacs because he's joking, but also Alternate Ved, who is joking, also jokingly suggesting it, but probably halfway serious. Fedora Fade says, yeah, Fedora's fine. It's totally fine. I used to use it. It's pretty nice, actually. But as I said in IRC, Fedora is a little bit too polished. I don't want something so polished. I want to be able to make a mess myself. I don't want to have a full GNOME environment and everything like that set up. I want like super, super minimal bare bones stuff. So I don't really want one of the more polished mainstream distros. Debian felt like it was a bit less polished. You know, it has all the software that you would want to use, but it's not like a really polished end-to-end experience. Why don't I want polish? Because I'm gonna rip all that stuff out anyway. So there's no point to me. Like I'm not gonna install Kubuntu as Nakotani has been suggesting that I do. I'm not gonna install Ubuntu. I'm not gonna install anything that's got all the extra crap on it that I'm just gonna take out anyway. So I want something that's minimal. Okay, well then obviously the next thing is either to use Arch Linux or Gentoo or Void Linux. I don't want to do that either. So I quickly decided that I'm going back to Guix. Mainly because I'm already doing what I really want to be doing with Guix in terms of being able to set up my system the way that I want. But then I had my own little odyssey of trying to reinstall Guix over the last, well, it really only started this morning. I basically tried to reinstall Guix 3 times today, and just the general long pull of the first Guix pull to get it from 1.4.0 to the present day, you know, Guix master, and then compiling the Linux kernel because I don't have substitute set up correctly because I'm using an off-the-shelf image of 9Guix. It just took a long time. So doing that 3 times a day kind of delayed me from getting the stream started. And I'm still watching the other machine that I'm installing Guix on churn away at my system configuration. So probably by the time the stream is done, my system config and my home config will be applied on that machine. It will be ready for the next stream, but it was not ready. So I apologize. You know, I'm not late just for the sake of being late. I'm late because this week I was putting myself through the crucible of system crafting for you, so I could tell you the story of how it sucked, and that maybe things that claim themselves to be stable and easy to use aren't always stable and easy to use. Summer is saying use Mint. I'm not using Mint. Once again, it's too polished. You know, it's too friendly. I don't want something friendly. I want to burn my eyebrows off every now and then. But not because something stupid happened, because I'm trying to learn something, you know? Dave says Mint is what I give my parents. It's a great distro to give your parents. It's a great distro to put on anybody's machine because it's intended to be friendly to people. I don't want friendly. I want it to do what I say. Do what I say, okay? It's as simple as that. Don't give me all the extra crap. Just do what I ask you to do without making me jump through extra hoops that I feel to be unnecessary. So the Debian installer was making me jump through extra hoops that should not have been necessary. When I started installing Guix again, it was pretty damn straightforward. I made some mistakes and had to reinstall it a couple of times. Want to know what those were, I can tell you, but I don't know. I've already spent, how long was this? 10 minutes on explaining the whole fiasco to you, so maybe it's not worth it, but anyway, all this is just to say, I think I'm kind of stuck with Guix at this point. There's really nothing else that's going to work out for me. So I'm just going to have to hunker down and get better at packaging software for Guix and learning how to use it the right way, which I know how to use it the right way, but like, you know, sometimes you got to put some extra effort in to make things work for you. But that's kind of the beauty of it, because you can do that. With Debian and other distros, it's kind of difficult to package software yourself a lot of times because, well, you can package it, but you can't really integrate it into a reproducible setup in the same way that you can do with Guix. So I don't know. There just seems to be a lot of value to actually doing the work in Guix where there isn't as much value in other distros. I could be wrong about that though. Alternate Ved proved to me that Fedora actually does make this pretty easy because they give you sort of like their own build servers and stuff. So you can have your own private package, well, not really private package repo, your own personal package repository, and they will build the software for you and you can install it from that. So that's kind of cool. But I also don't want to be depending on Red Hat or IBM or whoever owns Red Hat now to keep my software available to me. You know, I would rather just package my own stuff, build it myself, and be fine. Okay. Dave says, one of us. Yeah, well, you know, it just, I'm starting to accept it now. You know, I am one of the very few who can stomach Guix long term, just because it just does so much for me that I need that it's difficult to get away. I've seen so many people bounce off Guix in the last 3 months that it's not discouraging, really, but it's kind of interesting to see how different people's needs in terms of what software they have to use and how they, network their computers or do other stuff. It affects the Guix experience so much, because sometimes you'll have to go to great lengths to make things work. And I can understand why somebody would stop using Guix, or at least pause on that for a while, because who has time to go tinker around with all that stuff? For me, I'm actually intentionally trying to remove things that I do so that it's easier for me to use Guix. And I kind of feel like I've done a pretty good job of that. I keep getting rid of stuff, and I'm still as happy as I was before with all the extra crap. So I don't know. I think I need to make some videos about that to sort of show how you can kind of get by with less, because it can be useful. I mean, if you use Emacs and you use it to the extent that it can be used, like you're using DRED for file management, you're using the built-in terminal emulators, more or less, which I don't really use them that much. You're using async shell command for launching programs. There's all kinds of stuff you can do in Emacs that you don't really need all the heavy-handed desktop environment stuff for. So really all you need is like Emacs in a web browser, and just like everything else, get out of the way. Get rid of all the extra UI widgets, all the stuff that you don't need on the screen. As you see right now, there's nothing else on the screen, except for when I hold super, you'll see the sway bar, which is built in, more or less. So anyway. Okay. Hey, Case, what Linux distro should I use? You'll probably say Alpine. I thought about Alpine for a second again, but then I decided not to. Wow, there's 75 people on YouTube. Well, I guess you got regaled with the story of my failures this week, which is great. It's fine. Peter says Debian 12 is from May this year, March. Is it? It might be. I can't remember when it came out. Max says Debian stable plus laptop plus encrypted root is asking for trouble. It shouldn't be, though. That should be so straightforward. The thought that I had, and that other people also said to me independently, is Debian team should be recommending this. They should not let you create a partition for Debian without it being encrypted. Isn't Debian about freedom and anti-surveillance and stuff? Why are they letting you create unencrypted partitions by default? They should be making that the easiest thing to do. There's guided partitioning that is in there, and you can have it do guided partitioning for the remaining space, but I don't think it lets you do an encrypted partition. I might have missed that, but I think that should be standard. They should be testing for that, because that is really important. Who wants to use to carry around a laptop without encrypting their main partition these days? It just feels like a little bit risky. I don't know. And you're probably thinking, well, what do you have on your computer that you'd be so worried about somebody looking at the files on your file system? I don't know. I just write a lot of fan fiction about Harry Potter, other really inappropriate things. I don't know, but just think about it, man. You want somebody to pick up your laptop that you left sitting somewhere, like at the in the restroom at McDonald's. You're sitting with your laptop in the toilet at McDonald's, and you kind of leave it to the side there, and somebody grabs it and runs. And then they start looking at all your notes, your personal thoughts and fears and things of that nature. It just kind of feels like it's an invasion of privacy. Probably bringing your laptop to a bathroom toilet in McDonald's would be an invasion of privacy on its own. But anyway, we kind of got off track there. Point being, I think my opinion is that encrypted partition should be the default in Debian, so it shouldn't be something that's so exotic that it just doesn't work right. But once again, it could be my configuration. Maybe I'm the one doing something wrong here. I'm not trying to cast aspersions toward the Debian team. I'm very thankful for all the work that they do, because Debian is kind of the most high quality, long running distribution of all of them, right? So I'm just saying, saying. Case is saying Haiku. No, Haiku is one step beyond a toy operating system, isn't it? Haiku's cool, all right? I'm not saying it's not cool, but is it really going to be something you could do day-to-day work on? Because I have to actually get things done, which I don't really get things done, but I need to get things done. So I need the option to get things done, right? Fade says, screw it, I'm moving to plan 9. That also doesn't seem like the thing to do. Summer keeps suggesting that I create Fugu Linux because I'm trying to cause pain to myself, or basically live on the edge of death every time I go and try to configure my system, which honestly, that's kind of what I'm doing, I guess. You know, I'm risking the reputation of my channel by doing really stupid things with my configuration like 20 minutes before the stream. But what can I do? All right. Hello to Fikri. Let's see. Menacing Mecha, hello, says, I've had stable time on NixOS, but have not tried to package any software. Unpackaged software seems needs have been met with Steam run so far. Yeah, well, NixOS in general has a lot more variety in the software that it provides. Also, the Nix team is not so hardcore about wanting everything to be buildable from source or bootstrappable. So there's plenty of stuff that's in the Nix package repo that is basically just taking existing Debian packages or tarballs of binaries that are coming from somewhere, and then using patch elf to sort of patch them up and use the proper dependencies and then running them. That makes things easier also because you don't have to worry about building the software. You can just kind of pull it off the shelf and try to set up in Nix. Not the case with GNU Guix because they want everything to be buildable from source, which means that if you want to package a piece of software, you often have to go to much greater lengths to make it work because Guix has its own eccentricities as far as like how all the environment is set up, etc. So, I mean, we did this on a stream recently. You saw it. So, yeah, Guix is harder from that perspective. However, I do appreciate that about it. It's just, you know, I'm kind of kicking and screaming and complaining when I have to go do it because I really don't want to. I'd rather just, you know, get some software installed and use it. But at the same time, I also would like the environment to be reproducible so that I can get back to it again if I ever need to. So anyway, let's see. Peter says, too long. I nuked my Win partitions last Tuesday. I wish I could, but every now and then you kind of need Windows for something like testing a program that you're trying to compile cross-platform, etc. Sure, I can use a VM, but also sometimes maybe you want to play a game or something. So having a Windows partition around can be useful. Let's see. So Jean-Baptiste says, probably you would have having Windows on a non-UEFI system and booted CD USB in USB mode. Maybe. Max says, Debian is never less hassle. Okay, well, I know that now. Apparently that's the case. Let's see what else. Fikri says, easiness of gaming is, made me switch back to Arch Linux. Yeah, that's not really a priority for me. I use Xbox for gaming most of the time, so that's not the biggest concern. Theo says, waiting for the next video, 5 reasons you should not use GNU Guix. I actually should make that video. It wouldn't be because I'm not going to use GNU Guix, but I have been thinking about it. That kind of video. It does make sense. Chris says, if I don't get a job soon, I'm going to be using my laptop in a McDonald's bathroom. Yeah, because I got free Wi-Fi and the coffee can be cheap. So, you know, why not? It's a good office. Not very comfortable, probably. All right, so Kay says, hot take, OpenBSD. You know, I've thought about the BSDs. FreeBSD is pretty nice. I don't know about the other ones, though. Okay. They says, all this Linux business is too mainstream. I don't care too much about mainstreamness. But I don't want shiny, flashy crap. Because I'm trying to get away from that by not using Windows or Mac OS. Summer says, I'm going to pick out my dress. Be back in a few. See, this is why I like having Summer around. Because she really brings things down to earth. And reminds us that it's not all us just, you know, sweaty neckbeards around here. There's other actual human beings who do things other than sit at a computer and complain all day. So I'm thankful that that Summer is here and is going to find a dress because it puts things in perspective, I'd say. Dave says, nice to have an encrypted disk when going through TSA in the US. Yeah, well, that's not something I thought about, but certainly the case. Let's see. Esau says, I close the lid on the toilet and use it as a desk. Sure, you can do that, but I wouldn't sit on the floor. So don't sit on the floor and then use the toilet as a desk. It might not go so well. Kay says, seriously, I wouldn't use Debian. Why didn't people tell me this when I started trying to use Debian this week? Everybody has an opinion that I shouldn't be using Debian. Haiku is on a new beta and it's apparently great. You know, okay, maybe one day we'll take a look at Haiku. It looks really pretty, but as I've been saying, prettiness is not really the standard for me. So, Dolly Parton Linux. What would that be? What would Dolly Parton Linux be? What would be the defining characteristic of Dolly Parton that would be applied to a Linux distribution? I know we have like Hannah Montana Linux. Apparently there's a Taylor Swift Linux. But what would be the Dolly Parton Linux? Let's keep our minds in a let's keep our minds out of the gutter with suggestions on that. I'll leave it alone. Rob says best way to fix the Debian issue is to wipe the Windows partition. Yeah, I can't do that. Let's see. Mike says, I don't care what the distribution is, less is more. Yeah, I don't care what it is so long as it works and doesn't give me extra trouble. So that's why I'm back to Guix, because at least I understand the trouble Guix can give me, and I have mitigated most of the day-to-day trouble that I get from it. All right. Scrolling. SteamOS. Yeah, I don't need that, but it's probably... yeah, I'm way behind on chat. That's right, Case. Sweaty neck beard life, yeah. Let me see. What? She's 1,000,000 years old? Yeah, but she's still kicking ass from what I understand. Like, she's out there doing stuff. She's singing. Summer says, did he just talk about my Hannah Montana Linux suggestion? I talked about it. I'm not saying that I'm actually going to use it. I mean, as a joke, maybe. Case says, Arch is trash. Hot take. Well, I wouldn't say Arch is trash, but the way I described it to people is that Arch is too obvious, okay? Like, I have weird criteria sometimes for picking things. I know. I won't use Chicken Scheme because it's called freaking Chicken Scheme, okay? So I already have weird priorities when it comes to picking things. I'm not going to use something that has a weird name. Puppy Linux, Pop OS, I'm not using those. It just feels weird to me. Like, I can't, it doesn't, like, I don't identify with that, okay? So Arch Linux is too much of a meme at this point. By the way, I use Arch. I don't care, dude. I don't want to hear about it, okay? It's just a freaking Linux distribution. If we're going to be talking about Arch all the time, then I don't know. Sure, you can craft a system with Arch. You can do pretty well with it. I'm just not interested. I used Arch for years. I'm not really... I'm not really interested. Judy says, Arch is too easy for David Will, apparently. Maybe it is. It has too good of a wiki. There's too much information out there. Poop OS is hot right now. Ooh. Don't read into that one too much. All right, see you, Glenn. You don't have to say, by the way. That's the meme, though. By the way, I use Arch. Is that not the meme? Truth OS. Ooh. I don't want to think about where that would be coming from. Okay. What have I missed? Okay, so the conceit of this stream is not for me to complain about Linux distributions. It is to have you collectively help me to decide on a desktop PC configuration. Now, I'm not talking about software configuration. I'm talking about building a desktop PC from scratch. Because I've been meaning to do that for a while. And I've been procrastinating. I've actually already come up with a configuration, but it's been about 6 months and things have probably changed in that amount of time to some degree. So I'm just going to start from scratch. And we're going to try to pick some parts that would work for a gaming/streaming PC. So I'm not trying to get like the most hardcore computational power necessarily. We're erring more on the side of GPU because GPU is helpful both for games and for streaming because you want to have hardware accelerated video encoding. The idea would be that the desktop PC would probably be what drives the stream. I wouldn't do the stream on the machine. I would do the stream on a different laptop and then capture the video from that machine and use the other machine as a streaming machine so that it's very, very stable. I don't have to worry about stupid cables moving and taking the whole stream down, et cetera, et cetera. So the goal would be building a machine that is good for this purpose. It doesn't need to be the biggest flashy RGB trash can that's ever been out there, but you know, making it look slightly nice would be cool. You know, I wouldn't really, you know, say no to some attractive aesthetics, but I'm not gonna go overboard with it. It's not gonna be full, you know, gamer system type thing. So let's see, what are we saying in the chat here? As much RAM as the board will fit. I agree, 100%. You need RAM. Fade says it needs to be AMD CPU and GPU. Yeah, well, okay, so AMD CPU, I'm good with. I'm definitely interested in getting Ryzen, but are the AMD graphics cards supported well in Guix? I know that the NVIDIA drivers are available in non-Guix repo, and I've used them before, but I've not had a chance to use an AMD card, so I don't exactly know how well they work or if they're stable. Anybody have an opinion on that? Gun says, are we currently discussing the appropriate distribution for the PC? Nah, it's just going to be Guix. For sure. I mean, it would have been Debian if Debian had worked. Maybe Debian would work on that machine because I would only have a single, well, okay, I would have two partitions, the boot partition and the main partition that's encrypted. So without Windows on there, probably it won't be so bad, but Summer says, or he could just go with a MacBook Pro. No. We're not going with any MacBook Pros. Ace says, I use a MacBook for work. Hot take, trash. You know, it's funny. My wife started the job recently, and they gave her a MacBook Pro, and I was shocked. The build quality, I don't know what model of MacBook Pro this is, but it feels like plastic. What's going on with that? They can't be all of them, right? Like maybe there's like a higher end model of MacBook Pro that actually is aluminum still, but this one is like flexi plastic almost. Something's wrong there. Let's see. Generally, it's fine. On Guix, no idea. Okay, good to know, Judy. Guix is always the wild card. That's okay, though. If I have to, I will use Fedora or Arch Linux on the streaming PC. What I need from a streaming PC is not necessarily reproducibility. I need it to work, to be reliable, and to have the software that I need to put on a weekly production that is failing most of the time because I'm doing stupid things before the stream starts. The AMD graphics drivers are fully open as far as I can tell. Are they? I felt like I saw that there was some non-free firmware, though. Maybe I'm wrong about that. 100% magnetic disk for backups. I don't think I would use magnetic disk for backups. I know they're cheaper for huge space, but I don't know. Mike says, and you're going to build it yourself, right? Yeah, the idea would be that if we can come up with a set of parts, I will buy them. And then on a future stream, we will try to assemble the machine, provided that I'm not 1 hour late starting the stream and we don't have any time to finish it. So it would be interesting to try that. I don't know how feasible it is in the amount of time that we have. Taylor Swift Linux. I'm not installing Taylor Swift Linux. What is Bunsen Labs? Yes, Dave says the AMD drivers are open, but the firmware is proprietary. That's what I thought that I heard. What's the deal with Bunsen Labs? Why is it not pasting? There we go. Oron. Lightweight and easily customizable open box desktop. Okay, and what's it based on? Debian 12 Bookworm. I've not heard of this, but I like the open box vibe. But I wouldn't use it. I would just take it out. I guess nothing's stopping me from using something like OpenBox because I'm really just using full screen apps all the time, as long as there's like a text-based configuration. But OpenBox is still X, right? I don't want X Windows anymore, or X11. Summer says, have the liquid cooling unit bigger than the PC? Well, I definitely need a liquid cooling unit, but bigger than the PC, probably not going to work. Summer, I'm surprised you didn't use this as an opportunity to say that I'm going to put my PC into an acrylic watertight case and then put it into the water next to my beachside home where I'm fishing every day. You missed an opportunity there. And glow liquid? Nah. Spinning LEDs. Look, I've already got ADHD. I don't need anything to be distracting me all day more than my unfortunate use of Linux distributions does. Liquid cooling with a secondhand car radiator. That's not going to smell very good, though. Pony OS. We're really getting off track here. Pony OS. Whoop, orc. Written from scratch. No. We're not doing that. I don't have a problem with My Little Pony, but I am not, as I mentioned before, I can't abide by something that just makes me cringe. That's why I'm not going to use Hyperland, because it's got anime waifus built in, among other things. Water, liquid nitrogen. It's not Linux. What is it? I didn't read it because I was so shocked that I couldn't stay there. Dedamono says, chat is on IRC. Yeah, it's in Libre Chat, the System Crackers Dash Live channel. Full-on compressor overclocked to 10,000 or 1,000x and use liquid nitro to cool it. Look, okay. Cool it, Summer. All right, I'm not such a computer hardware expert. I'm more of a soft, squishy software person. So I just let the computer do all the work. I just buy a laptop and just let it, handle that business. And I just get to, poking around with conceptual objects instead of, touching things with my hands. So, yeah. I'm sure you know all about this stuff. I don't. But that's why you're all here, is to help me if we get started at any given point. Craft your own liquid nitro. That sounds like something that's going to get me put on a watch list. So no thanks. All right. So in Greece, I don't have Amazon. I have something called Scrooge. So we're going to use Scrooge to search for the parts, because that's what I got. Summer says, make Alienware computers break down and cry when they see your machine. I actually used to have an Alienware computer. It was pretty nice. All right. So AMD Ryzen. Let's start with that. Fade says, I have a hard time believing an NVIDIA graphics card would be a better choice than AMD on Guix. Well, there's more than one reason for that also. The other reason is that Sway likes to yell at you when you use NVIDIA drivers. So since I use Sway, it's difficult. However, the newer NVIDIA drivers, I think, fixed whatever issue that Wayland had with NVIDIA drivers. So maybe that's kind of resolved now. But still, Sway likes to yell at you if it finds out that you're using NVIDIA drivers. So that's another reason I might try to use AMD instead. I just want something that works well and has hardware accelerated video encoding. What are you saying? Okay, anyway. Dave says, I've never seen this store before. Neither had I until I moved to Greece. It's kind of like a... it's like the Kmart to Amazon's Walmart. Not really up to snuff, I guess. It works. It works. Why is it choking so bad? Is it choking on the stream like that too when I scroll? Okay. Peter says a patch is available and it's not needed anymore with driver 555 and later. Okay, I don't know if that's on non-geeks yet. No Namer says had long hours of annoyance with my laptop's NVIDIA GPU, plugged in my AMD one into the desktop and it just worked. Okay, yeah, well, laptop NVIDIA stuff is a pain in the ass, period, just because you've got the switchable graphics adapter, and that's just annoying. Okay. All right, Ryzen. Tell me, what is the latest in Ryzen technology? Maybe if I sort by price, I might find it. Recommended. Price descending. Threadripper. Okay, you want to pay $14,000 for a processor? Because I don't. $14,000? I mean, that thing better make me breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the same time, right? Dave says, also pronouncing Scrooge in English is a lot of fun. Yes, Scroots. It's not Scroots, it's Scrooge. Because TZ, or letters T and Z, which aren't really T and Z, is Tav and Zeta in Greek, make a j sound, like Jajiki. It's not Tzadzik, it's Jajiki. So it's a j sound. So Scrooge, that's what it is. I'll teach you some Greek. Not really, though. I'm not that good at it. But I can at least read it and pronounce it. Okay, so Threadripper, I mean, I don't really need that. 96 cores sounds super cool, but do I need 96 cores? Maybe if I'm building my entire Guix system from scratch, or if I'm using Gen 2, it would be good for parallel builds, but 96 cores is a little bit too much. Mike says, is that USD? No, this is euros. It's got the funky little symbol there. That's euros. No, it's not $1,954. Oh, it's a movie? Okay. Summer's always got the pop culture references that I don't even get. Like, she knows things that were created before I was born, and I don't know them. Pesos? If it was pesos, it'd probably be a different number. Okay, so what did someone say? There was an actual suggestion somewhere. No Number said 7800X3D. There's a 7980. Is that newer? That's still damn expensive. Like, that's more than I would want to pay for the entire computer. So, oh, that's still Threadripper. Let's go down, because let's put an upper limit here. I'll probably pay 1,000 or less for a processor, but I would prefer not to pay so much. 7900X. And if anyone's asking why I would pick AMD over Intel in this case, the Ryzen processors, at least in desktop PCs, have been doing pretty well in terms of performance shootouts. There's still proprietary firmware for those, I think. So you're not really going to get away from that issue. But I think many people are using Ryzen processors in desktop machines now. 7900X3D. Okay, so where's the X? Oh, here it is, right here, 700. And that's got 11 reviews. Are they all in Greek? Let's see. I'll read some Greek to you. Sometimes they automatically translate them, though, so it's not so much fun. Okay. Show original. Polydynatos epi seriastis που χρειάζεται καλή ψήξη για να... Okay. That's enough. What's my expense limit anyway? I don't really have one. I just don't want like one component to be extremely over the top expensive. But anyway, let's take a look at the stuff here. 12 threads. Does that include hyper-threading? So maybe it's 6 cores. Is that right? Full description. So what's the 3D deal? 3D V-cache technology. Low latency. Is that just like more cache lines? What's that? Υπέροχο προϊόν. Ο David πρέπει να το αγοράζει. So, perfect product. David must buy it. 3D V-cache is more fast cache. Well, that definitely helps. Λατρεύω αυτό το προϊόν. Ο David πρέπει να το πάει στο διαδίκτυο. Okay. We're using Google Translate now. I see that. 12 cores. Is it 12 cores? I don't see that. Oh, okay. It's right there under my eyeballs. If I'm not getting distracted by Summer spitting Greek at me. Where was the description area? Full description. Extreme performance for gaming, creation, streaming, or any workload you choose, like installing Guix 3 times in a day. Additionally, enjoy the benefits of next generation AMD 3D V-cache technology for low latency, 12 cores and 24 threads. I mean, that's good for me. You're really fast at learning stuff on the screen. You didn't learn that. 12 cores, 24 threads. I like it. And that's only €700, which is, good for a higher end processor. Gun says D spelled as NT. Interesting. Yes. So what looks like D delta in Greek is a the sound, not a duh sound. So to make duh, you have to use n. Duh, duh. It's like the N and the T right after each other. A lot of these are compound sounds from 2 letters, like the TZ you saw before. Anyway. Case says his internet pooped out. Let me make sure mine didn't poop out, because that's been happening. Stream still up? Good. All right. Easy overclocking in the game. I don't care about that. So let's just say this is going to be it, right? Let's just go with this for now, because people have been telling me. Let me drop these in I didn't get to the news before because I was too busy talking about myself, so sorry about that. Processor. All right, so let's just go with that for now. Maybe I'll just add it to the cart so we can kind of see. Wait, what's the difference between box and tray? How is that? What does tray mean? Does that mean the processor plus the tray that goes on the motherboard? Box comes with a box tray. Why is tray expensive then? And what the hell is this? I think Vision Studio here is trying to rip somebody off. Because that seems wrong, right? Let's see what Amazon says. Amazon.com. Ryzen 7900 X3D. What is the American US dollar pricing for this? Yeah, that seems... So it looks like this 430 is more like what I would expect to see for the translation of the money. All right, so 430 euro, not 700. That makes no damn sense. He says, what if instead of building a computer, you got a ThinkPad X220? No. It's not going to be powerful enough, dude. I know you can upgrade it, but still. Okay, anyway, that's that. Let's make sure I get the right link on that so that we're not picking the wrong thing. Does it actually update the URL? Yes, it does. All right, let's fix that because that's wrong. 700 euro, my ass. It says if an X220 isn't powerful enough, maybe you're doing too much. Sure. Ryzen 9000 series, is it better? Is it newer? Because newer sometimes is not better. What time is it right now? Okay, we got about 30 minutes. Frame.work. So look, I've been seeing a lot of stuff lately about the quality of framework machines, and I'm putting a pause on buying one of those. I'm sorry to say, but I might end up buying another ThinkPad laptop at some point. No, not a 220. I'll probably buy like the X1 Carbon, whatever the new one is that comes out. Maybe. Even though Lenovo has pissed me off thoroughly over the last 4 years. Thoroughly. Okay, so Judy said something about the 9000 series. Can I find that? If I can go back far enough to actually look at it? No. Obviously I have to go here. All right, there's the 9950X. Is there a 3D version of this thing? Zen 5. All right, so it's a different series of the processor. Zen 5 instead. 3D rendering, 16 cores, 32 threads. I mean, throw me a couple more cores in, I'll be happy, I think. I don't think there are ones with a 3D V-cache. So the V-cache could be useful. Like, I think that faster cache would be better for performance than more cores in many cases. That's my theory. Icy Thought says, am I the only one with cursed ThinkPad experiences? No, I've had many problems recently. Newer ThinkPads have issues here and there. Okay, so we could definitely consider this one also, I think. It's definitely more expensive. Has anybody reviewed this yet? No reviews. Probably too new. I don't know when this came out. But then again, it doesn't have the cache. I think faster cache might be a better option. That's my slightly informed opinion. So, all right, let's assume we're going with that 7900 X3D processor. Okay. So what's next? We need to get a motherboard, obviously. And this is a socket AM5. So let's see, AM5 motherboard. Is that what I'm looking for? AM5 motherboard. I need to look at case form factors as well, which is going to be a whole other can of worms. All right, so AMD AM5 socket. There's some pretty good choices here. They are ATX. So if you don't know about desktop PC cases, there are a few different variations on size. There's ATX, there's like mini ATX, and there's micro ATX. Probably don't want a micro ATX because it's going to be too small to cool effectively. Plus, it doesn't usually fit the larger graphics cards. But a mini ATX, I believe, is possibly doable. What keyboards am I going to get? I'm going to use the ThinkPad USB keyboard that I've been using. Get a cool case. Yeah, I want to get something that's okay. Arctico Kiklo. What is that supposed to be? With glow stuff and a demon face. I'm cool with a demon face. I like to have it be a little bit haunted. Fractal cases. Yeah, Fractal's kind of cool. That's the ad. Oh, is it? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Taxilipsis on Arctico Kiklo. The Arctic Circle. Okay, so it's like you're going to give you a trip to the Arctic Circle if you sign up for MasterCard. All right. I'm looking for cases. The best computer cases. Utia y Polyston. So, Corsair case, MIDI tower. Okay. It's not MIDI, the musical note data standard. It's something else. Uninstalled Brain says, did you look at System 76 Thelio at all? I did look at those. I'm not really... interested based on what I saw. They were kind of expensive and not as powerful as building your own thing, in my opinion. Hello to Theo Peckley. Or Theo Peckley. Let's see. Das Q. Oh, okay. So I would definitely get a here, look. No. That's not it. Is it? This is the Happy HHKB Studio. Check this out. Oh, come on. Goo. Can I get to a search engine? This is on Google Chromium, so it's kind of screwing me a little bit. HHKB Studio. Why would I want this? Because it's got a freaking track point in it. It's pretty expensive, though. I mean, like, it's kind of a little bit hard to justify, but it looks pretty good. It's basically a souped-up ThinkPad keyboard that is clicky. You know, it's got the actual mechanical switches and stuff in it. Okay, that's irrelevant, though. We're looking at computer cases. So there's this Corsair that's got a lot of fans in it, and it's all RGB'd out the wazoo, which is cool. This Lian Li actually looks kind of sweet, but I'm guessing all that stuff inside does not come with it. Water pump slot, USB Type-C. I mean, that's cool. Very glassy on the sides. You can see all the innards. But I'm sure all that stuff is not part of it. It's just a case. I got to install it myself. Case says HHKBs are mega expensive. Yes, they are very expensive. Fade says they feel really good. I imagine they do. It'd be nice if you could try one without having to, buy it and return it. But anywho, reviews, 39 reviews, large, spacious, sturdy. I also don't want something that's freaking massive. This is a full tower computer case, so it's going to be pretty big. However, a larger case